Welcome to our video series where we are going through the November 2024 PRAC exam or paper 1 for IT grade 12s or information technology grade 12 students. We've done the first three questions and now we're on to the last question, which tends to be a complicated question, normally revolves around arrays. So let's get stuck into this last question and end our exam strong. Just a reminder that there is a link to all the other questions as well as to the data files in the video description. I suggest that you download them and give the exam a try before you watch the rest of this video and then come back and see where you've made your mistakes. Just another little tip when it comes to the last question. A lot of people struggle with this last question. A lot of people don't even get to this last question. So the key advice I can give you about how to do well in the last question is number one, make sure you know your question 1, 2, and 3 very well. By doing your general programming, your database programming, and your OOP programming well, you will give yourself more time to be able to do this question. And secondly, if you are running out of time, then don't try to get everything working. Just try to get the mark. If there's inputs, get the inputs. If there's loops, do the loops. If there's output, do the outputs. Just accumulate the marks. And as you go through that process, hopefully you can get to a point where you can start trying to make the program actually work. And we've got two questions, one with regard to counting marathons. So they've given us an array that goes from 1 to 10, which has the names of the different marathons that people have participated in. And it is possible that a participant has done a marathon more than once. You can see there's Wally Hayward done twice. So those are the list of the marathons that this person has done. And then there's another two-dimensional array called array char, which has a whole bunch of characters, which we'll probably get to later. So let's look at 4.1. 4.1 says use the provided array for array marathons. That's the one with the different marathon names. And as we said, there is a possibility of repetition. Code has been provided for the alignment to display the headings. We need to write code that's going to display each individual marathon and how many times that user ran that marathon. So if we're basically going through this list, we want to see how many times Wally Hayward appeared, how many times the word Cecil appeared, which in this case is twice. Soweto is 3 times, if I'm correct, and there you can see those numbers. Also, it is 4 times. Did I miss one? There's 1, there's 2, there's 3 and 4. So there are 4 Soweto. So we need to go through and count all of the marathons and basically create a unique list. Okay, so that's quite challenging. It's only 11 marks. So what I thought of straight away when I saw this question is I thought maybe to do a remove duplicates, where we create an array which has a unique list of all the different values in the array. And then we use that to then go, okay, let's count how many times the first element is inside. That is possible, and you could probably do that if you know your remove duplicate algorithm. But that is quite a complicated algorithm, and it's quite a lot of code, and it's only 11 marks. So maybe there's another way we can do it. If that's the only way you know how to do it and you know how to do the remove duplicates algorithm, then by all means do it. But let's try a different way of doing that. Let's go to our program. So there it is. We're going to go to the code count marathons. And we can see our array over there. So we're going to loop through this array. Let's think about how we're going to do this. So what I've got over here is I've just got an Excel spreadsheet just to keep track of an example. So we've got 10 values and we want to count how many A's there are. So what I'm going to do is I know the first one is unique. So we know that the A is available. So we're going to use A. But then I'm going to count how many times that occurs with the rest of the array. So if that makes sense. So I'm going to take that one and count, hey, how many times is there an A? And we're going to go through. When I find A, I increase the count. Taking note that the count will start at 1. Because we obviously have that first record over there. So that's what we're going to do at first. Let's see if we can get that working and see how we go from there. So let's just take the first one. We're going to take that first value. So we're going to first make some variables. Let's make the one that we are checking as check, and we're going to need, that's going to be some sort of string, and then we're going to need some sort of count to count how many values there are. So that's going to be an integer. So the first thing to take note of, we're going to initialize our count to a 1. The reason why it's 1, because we know we've got 1. We're just going to see how many other times the A appears. So the moment we find a match, then we're going to increase it so then I'll become 2. So that's why I'm initializing it to 1. And then I'm going to loop. The one that we are checking is the value in array marathons at position 1. Okay, so that's going to be that Wally marathon. We're then going to loop, which is what I need a looping variable. So let's make it an R. And we're going to loop from position 2 until the end of the array, which we know that there are 10 values in the array. I don't need to check the first one. I'm just going to loop from 2 until 10, if that makes sense. And we're going to count every time we find a value in the array that matches this first one. So if check is the same as the value in marathons square bracket R, because R is going to become number 2, is 2 the same as is 3, is 4. If it is, then we are going to increase our count. So if it was 1, it's now becomes 2, if it's 3, and so on. So it's going to do that. And then once we are done, we are going to display in the rich edit, .lines.add, we're going to display the text, which isscheck, which is the one that we are checking. And then we're going to add some sort of #9, I'm assuming. If we look at the diagram, just a bit of a #9, and then we're going to display the number. Okay, they've already done the heading, so that's fine. And then we're going to display our count variable. But remember, our count is an integer, so we're going to convert it from an int to a string so that it can fit into the loop. Okay, so let's see if that works, at least for the Wally scenario. So let's run it. And if we click on it, boom, we get Wally Hayward, and it occurs 2 times. And I think that is correct. So there we go. We've got it started. So now that I've got it working for one case, I now need to make it work for all the other cases. So now there are 10 possible cases, because it's possible that each one is unique. There is a possibility of that. So I'm going to do this whole loop 10 times. So I'm going to do another loop, which is going to be my out loop. Let's make a J loop. Our for loop is actually going to go for J is equal to 1 until 10. And we are going to go and do each and every value. We're going to go check if it's there. We're going to go boom. I'm going to go end. And that's the end of the J outer loop, just so that I know where things are beginning and where things are ending. So that's going to repeat. Now let's just make sure that it works correctly. When it's a 1, we want to check from that one with the rest. Once that's done, we're then going to look at B, which is the second one, but we're not going to check it before. We want to check B with whatever the rest of the array is. So when I checked A, we looped from 2 until 10. When I'm checking B, I'm actually looping from 3 until 10. And when I'm looking at C, I'm looping from 4 until 10. So just be aware of that. When I'm looking at that particular one, I'm then looking at all the rest of the array. I'm not looking at what happened before it. I'm looking at what happened after it. So that's what I'm going to try to do. When I'm doing this, first of all, when J is a 1, we're looking at Marathon's 1, but then we go to the second one, which means we're going to check J. This is going to keep on going. Check is going to loop check A, do the code, then check B, then do the code, then check C, then do the code. That's what we're doing over there by setting check to Marathon's J. So it starts with 1 and goes on. And we're not going to loop from 2 every time. We are going to loop at whatever J is. If we're looking at the first one, we're looking at J plus 1 till the end of the loop. If J is a 2, we're looking at J plus 1, which is 3 until the end of the loop. When J is a 3, we're looking at 4 till the end of the loop. So we are looping from whatever the value is in J plus 1. Because we are checking J, we are looking for whatever's after J until the end of the array. Let's try that and see what happens. By doing this nested loop, we're now going to go and do that. We're going to check that one with the rest, then check that one with the rest, check that one with the rest. So I think that might work. We initialize count to 1 every single time. I think that's fine. Let's try it out. Let's count the marathons. We've got some information here. So we definitely got Wally Hayward working. If I look there, definitely got Wally Hayward. Then we've got Sasol working as a 2. Then we've got Soweto working as a 4. Jacaranda City as a 1. Then do you see this is the problem? Because Sasol has already been done, we're doing Sasol again, but with the rest of the loop. So what's happening here is, for example, we did B, but when I get to this B, it's doing this again and going through the whole list again. So maybe it's an idea. When I've done A and I've checked the rest of the array, I've counted it, maybe we should find a way to get rid of that A so that when I get to that, I'm not going to count that again. Maybe we can just put it like a dash in so that we don't count it the next. Look at this way. If I'm counting A, I'm going to count from 1 to A, and let's make that a dash. When I count B, I'm going to go through, count the B, but make it a dash, and then we carry on. So that means when I come across this again, we must just find a way that we don't count the dashes. When we find a dash, we don't worry about even doing the loop for that. So let's see if we can do that. So whenever I find a match, not only am I increasing the count of this value, we found one, but I'm also going to say, by the way, that value at array marathons, square bracket R, because that's the one we're looking at, that we're going to change to a dash. I think it is text, so we can just change it to a dash. So we're going to change it to a dash. That's what we're going to do every single time. So let's try that. So I don't think it'll make much of a difference. I think we're going to get a whole bunch of dashes counted over here. So we still got the same thing. So we only get in the unique values. That's good. But we don't want to display the dashes. So whenever we come across a dash, let's say we don't want to do that. So we only do this display if scheck isn't a dash. So maybe we can go if scheck is not equal to a dash, then you can do the display. If it is equal to a dash, then leave it. We could probably put that check over here somewhere so that it doesn't actually do the loop, but let's try that. Do the marathons. Let's see our results. Boom. Does Wally Hayward 2, Sassel 2, Soweto 4. What we were doing here is, okay, so let's take, for example, C. C we're going to compare with the rest of the group. So C, it's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4. But every time it found this one, it changed it to a dash. So that means that when it comes over here and it found that old C, which is now a dash, it's not going to think of it. It's going to count all the dashes, but when we get to this part, it's not going to display dashes because we know the dashes aren't being counted anymore. There we go. I think that works. It seems to do what we wanted to do, so I'm happy with that. So let's move on to the next question. Okay, to 4.2, we've got a mystery word puzzle. It has developed a great awareness of different marathons. The code has been provided and a method called display 2D that displays it, so we don't have to do the display, it's already done for us. And then there's a combo box. The mystery word puzzle uses characters placed in the provided 2-dimensional array called containing 14 rows, 14 columns. 9 marathon names are provided in the combo box, and these names are also hidden amongst the characters. The marathon names are placed horizontally in rows. So you can see, if we look, you can see there's the word Sassel is in the first one. Extract the selected marathon name from the combo box. Then we're going to find the marathon name hidden in the array. So we're going to find if it's hidden in the array, and then use the memo to display which row it was in and what start and end character. So for example, if I look here, if we look at Knysna Forest, you can see Knysna Forest is in row 5, starting at 2 until 13. And then we must also change the characters of it into uppercase, and then we're going to call the display 2D method to display the array so I can display those. So we're changing that to the array. Okay, so there's a lot to do. Let's break it down into its parts, get each part working, and then get the marks. First thing, let's extract the name from the combo box. Very easy. So let's go over here. When we go to 4.2, we're going to double click on here to get the code. Now we're going to get the name that we are checking. So let's get the name. We are trying to find this. I'm going to make a string called sfind, and sfind is going to be whatever's in this combo box, and we're getting it from the text property. So that's going to, for example, be the word Sassel, for example, that we get. Now we need to find, now I'm just using Sassel because what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get Sassel working for the first row. If I can get it working for the first row, then at least I can then just repeat it 14 times for the other rows. Okay, so let's try again. So I want to do the following. So I know that Sassel is the one I'm looking for. I want to create a string which has all those letters together. So if I take this, for example, that's the first row. I want to take that U and make a string where we take that and add it. And we're going to say, take the U and then add the X and then the V and then the M and the S and A, S, O, L, F, K, J, T, R. So I want to construct a string like that. And then I want to find out if we can find the position of Sassel, the word that we're looking for, in that string. I think that's the easiest way to do it. So let's first construct a string which has all those in one. So let's do a string which has the whole row. So let's go. We're going to make a string for the row. So S row string. And we're going to initialize it to nothing, and then we're going to loop. We know that there's 14, so let's go and loop. Let's call it R, and R is going to go from 1 to 14, and all we are going to do is we're going to say S row string is equal to whatever's in the S row string plus the value. Now we're only dealing with the first row. Okay, so I'm only dealing with the first row. So I'm taking column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, and just adding them onto row. I just want the first row. Okay, so we're going to add on the value from the array char, and we've got, remember arrays, it's first row then column. So we take in row 1, but then we take in column 1 and then 2 then 3. So that's going to be my R. So take those individual characters, add them onto the row string. Remember our R should probably, Mr. Long, be an integer. So there we go. So we're going to go from 1 to 14, just take that, add it onto row string, take it, add it onto row string. So we're going to construct a string that looks like that. So let's do that. I actually just want to see that it works. So let's just show message this S row string to see that it works. I just want to see that it actually is doing it correct. So let's try that out. Remember, accumulate the marks. So we can see, okay, we can barely see the 1 to 14, but if I select, for example, Sassel, and here I can see my row string is U, X, V, M, S. So there we go. So it is creating that string. Is everyone happy with that? Fantastic. Now that I've got that string, we know that every character from the first row. So now I can do the following. If the value that I'm looking for is inside of row string. That means we're going to find the position of Cecil in the row string. If that is greater than 0, then we know that Cecil is somewhere inside there. We know it's in there. Okay, so then let's just try this. Then we're going to say, what do we need to do? We need to display the row and its starting value to the end value. So let's just do that. We're going to display that in that, I think it's the memo control. In the memo control, we're going to display the word row. We know it's row 1 because that's the only one we're checking. So let's do that. So we know we're going to display in the memo control, lines of add, we're going to display the text row 1, followed by an @ symbol, followed by the word column. So let's put the word column. And then we need 2 numbers. We need the starting number. So for Cecil, it would be 5 up until 9. So we need the starting number. So let's just put in from X to Y for now, because it's going to look like that. Okay, so let's try to work out how do we get the X and Y. So if I look here, if I find the position of Cecil, that's going to tell me the position 5. It's going to tell me where the word Cecil is in that string. So that's easy. The starting value will be the position of what we are looking for in there. So I'm going to make a variable here called start. So the start position and the end position. So when we find a match, when we find it there, we know that the start position is going to be this, the position of it inside of the string. Where is Cecil inside the row? We know it's there, so where does it start? So we know that value is going to be the start value. So that's going to be our start. But remember, we want to make this text. So I'm going to add this variable to the string that we're displaying. And this is an integer, so int to string, so that we can display this. So let's test that quickly. We want to see if it's working. Remember, we're only doing the first row. So I'm looking for the word Cecil. There it is. And so we've got our constructor string. There we go. And we know that it's in row 1 and it starts at position 5. 1, 2, 3. You can barely see it there. There we go. So it is at position 5. So how do I get the 9? So let's work it out. We can work it out mathematically. If you look over here, if we look 5 to 9, the length of Cecil is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I take 5 plus another 5, I'm going to get 10. So it's always going to be the starting value plus the length. But if I plus the length, I'm going to go too far. So I'm just back it off 1 position because it's not including the 5. So mathematically, to work out the end, we take the position that it starts plus the length of the word that we're looking for minus 1. So the end value, we can do it mathematically, I said, is going to be whatever the start value is plus the length of the word that we are looking for, which is sfind, minus 1. So if sfind is Cecil, it'll be 5. What's 5 plus 5? It's 10 minus 1, it'll be 9. And that's the one that we're going to put over there. So plus into string our end. So I think that'll work for the word Cecil. So we come here and we say the word Cecil. It goes from 1 to 5. Fantastic. It is working. Then they also tell me that we need to change those characters into uppercase. So we need to change Cecil into uppercase characters. But we only want to change from position 5 until 9. We've got the values 5 to 9. So we're going to loop from 5 to 9 and just change those characters up 1. And then we're going to call the 2D display method. So once we've done this, that's fantastic. We've done it, found the display. Then we're going to now loop again. So I can't use the loop that we've got there for R. So let's use another loop. Let's call it J. We're going to loop now for J is going to loop. Now remember, we only want to loop from 5 until 9 and change those to capital letters. That's what I'm basically doing. I don't worry about the other ones, just the capital letters, and that's of the array. So we're going to loop from the start value until the end value. It's a good thing we've worked it out, and it's our start, Mr. Long. And we're going to say the value in the array char, we're looking at row 1, but at position J, so it'll be 5, is going to equal to whatever it is. We want to change it to exactly what it is, but we want to make it uppercase, so we're going to upcase it. Upcase does 1 character, so we're going to upcase that character. So equals to upcase. So it's going to go through from 5 to 9 and up each 5 up 1, 4, 6 up 1, 7 up 1, 8 up 1, 9 up 1. And then once that's done, technically it would be good to put a begin end here just to make sure that we are technically correct. And then over here, once that's done, we must call the display 2D method. So display 2D, does it work like that? There we go, it works. I think it's further down or further up, but the display 2D method works. So let's test it to see if it works. We basically want to see that Cecil is in the right position. And there we can see Cecil is now in uppercase and it redisplayed everything. Okay, so that's working for the first case. Now we want to do that for every single row not just row 1. So that's what we're looking for. We aren't guaranteed that it's always going to be Cecil. We want to change that. So I'm going to make another loop, which is going to go called our row. We're going to do all 14 rows. So I'm going to loop this. We still want to find that. We're still going to initialize that. We're going to now have a for loop for our row, and there are 14 rows, and we're going to do this every single time. What are we going to do? Well, first of all, I don't want to display this every single time. So I'll take that out, because otherwise it's going to display that row, that row, that row, that every single time. I don't want to do that. We're going to construct a row, but we're not doing row 1 every time. We're going to do row 1 and then row 2. Then we're going to do the row, our rows. So we're going to start off with row 1. We're going to check if what we found, in this case could be like Knysna City. Is it in row 1? It's not. Then it won't do any of this. It'll just skip it and then go to row 2, construct row 2, and so on. When it does find a match, it'll find its position, it'll loop, and it'll display all the details. And instead of displaying row 1s to uppercase, we are looking at that row. So technically our 1s are all changing to our row. We are changing that to our row, because we're not looking at row 1 every time. We're looking at row 1, then 2, then 3, which is that loop over there. So let's test it and see if it works. So first of all, we're going to say Cecil, because we know that that works. Now let's try a different one. Let's try Hillcrest. It found it in, there's Hillcrest, row 12. It is 6 to 14. It is 6, but it's not row R, because we must change it to 12. So the row is not working there. But if I take Durban City, I can see Durban City is in 14. There we can see Durban City, which is from position 2 until position 11. So it is getting the right value. The only thing that's wrong is that 1 must change to whatever the row is. So we're going to display our row here, which must be converted from an int to a string. And then we add that, and then we add that, just so you can see it. So there we go. I think that's all. So let's try it. So let's try Cecil. Cecil works. Let's try Knysna Forest. Row 5, 2 until 13. That works. Let's do Wally Hayward. There we go. And as you see, it's working for all of them. This is great. So it's working on all of them. Fantastic. I think it's done. I think that's all they wanted. Great. And then we've got a reset button. There we go. Well done. I think it works. I did have a squiz at the memo, and they do it in a very different way. So you can go check out their memo and see how they did it. I like the way I did it. I think I did follow all the steps. I still got the extracted the value. I did find its value in the char for that each row. I did display the details. I did change the characters. I did display and then display everything using the method. So I followed all their steps. I just did it in a slightly different way with constructing that string of the entire row. Go check it out if you don't like my way, but I think my way works better. But yeah, both of them will get you the mark. So there we go. That's our question done. Do you see how I try to do little bits at a time? Get it working for one case, get it all the steps done, and then loop around it. That way you can make sure that you get all the marks. If you try to do nested loops by just doing the first case, you're going to get majority of the marks, and you're only going to lose the marks for that final loop and maybe one or two things at the end. So with nested loops, especially with 2D arrays, get it working for the first case and then loop that first case scenario for all cases, and then just adjust your ones into the second loop's value. Good luck, grade 12s. Go try our other exam papers. Go check out the YouTube channel. Go check out playlists. Go do some more practicing. It would be amazing if you could support the channel by being a subscriber, both on TikTok and on YouTube. Please support the channel as well as our other channel at Mr. Long Computer Terms to help you with your paper too. But please help us out. And remember, don't do it the long way. Do it the Mr. Long way.